weeks in a row, and we keep trying out new looks.
Yeah, I mean, this is the tabletop,
This is the tabletop.
the high top. I need a little bit of a high chair over here, but I'm okay.
Now, there might have been a little bit of a sneak peek to this earlier this week from a certain you-know-who, but
Yeah.
more to come to this table, I can guarantee you.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a great setup here for the for a guest to have a nice little round table.
Absolutely.
Although it's rectangular, but it's
A little industrial.
and you can add. It's expandable.
That's
You
right.
can put several people
We
around.
could have a
it, so.
six-person conversation.
We could, and
They even got a booster seat.
yeah, no, nice. I could
good
use
setup.
one. I could use one over here. So
I think we need a backdrop.
I need a
Hey,
pillow.
listen, if you're watching tonight, obviously the black, it's just dull and it's drab, but we need a backdrop look. And we're thinking like some rustic wood with an American
Yeah.
flag or
Yeah.
something. But, if you got anything, give us a note in the comments and drop us a picture of what you think we should go for a backdrop to make it really look
yeah, let us know
kinda
what you
cool.
think. Absolutely.
So we got a lot to get into tonight, Mark.
Well, yeah, because one, we have Trump.
Yeah.
Trump owes $355 million to the state of
Boom.
New York.
Yeah, but who's the victim?
There's no victim, as far as I can tell. Even the bank that they used in the case said that there wasn't really that there was no issue with their his application.
I found it interesting in some discoveries that they said that the bank was actually practically coerced. They didn't even want to go and testify in this
Yeah,
case.
I mean they
they were
said there was
threatened by the state, basically.
into doing it, and just think about that for a minute. What is that doing to New York? I mean, I saw
Absolutely.
on Fox Business, I saw Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank.
Oh, you can't trust Fox.
Oh well, I'm
I mean,
but let's talk about
the only Republican network on the entire. They're
well,
not
I mean,
conformist.
Republican or
They're not-
conservative, whichever, right? But but they had Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank on, and he said
Yeah.
basically this is the beginning of New York is becoming the worst state. It's on its trail to becoming the poorest state in the union because
Yeah.
they're going to. I don't know if you can look up his quote there, but he has.
Was it Chuck O'Leary, you said?
It was no Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank.
I got it.
Yeah, and his it was on Fox Business. It was like the morning after, the day after the ruling came out.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about that. There's no victim, absolutely no victim.
I would never
What-
invest.
this is what he-
said,
this is the
I would
fraud.
never invest in New York now. That's what he said on Fox Business. He
Yeah.
said, I would never. Now, you're talking about a guy that throws out hundreds of thousands of dollars
Mm-hmm.
on a Shark Tank show to help a young and up-and-comer, especially if there's a benefit, right?
Yeah, I mean,
he's
they're
all about making
investing
money.
in
Yeah,
them. They're
that's
investing in their products. Them
and he's
as
he's
entrepreneurs.
basically written off an entire state, and
Yes.
knowing that he already has ventures in those states.
Right. I mean, and the thing is that if your politics is not to the liking of the powers in New York, they are going to come after you.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're saying. The reason they're coming after Trump has nothing to do with whether or not Trump actually committed fraud. It is, and not to mention that they've never ever prosecuted anybody for doing this. Let's go back to what he did. So what he did was when he was applying for a loan. I mean, these are mega loans. These are not little loans. When he was applying for a loan, he went. They asked him to. The bank says, "Hey, what are the buildings worth that you're putting up for this?"
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the building. I mean, he was putting up his existing buildings, some of his existing buildings, to cover the loan for the new building.
That's right.
And so when he was going through this, they said, well, he inflated the cost. Well, the explanation for that is this: they don't when you're not talking about a building like you're going to go buy a house.
No.
You're talking about a business.
That's right. And the building in New York is a vertical zip code.
Exactly.
And in that vertical zip code, you have businesses that operate. You have an infrastructure. It has its own zip code at that point.
Yeah.
You have residents that live in there. You have profits that are made in so many different fund streams that give a valuation to a business. And how are you to compare it to what it was 10 years ago when the rates and everything have increased in the city?
Well, yeah, I mean, but this is the thing. I mean, they said Mar-a-Lago, Trump's residence is the country club down in
Florida.
West Palm. It's in West Palm Beach, right? And he was down there, and they said that it was only worth like $18 million or something.
Oh
like that.
yeah, a ridiculous price in Florida, which everybody
an empty
knows.
lot, an empty lot down the street, $200 million.
Yeah.
An empty lot, and his is one of the only properties that has both access
PGA
to the
golf course.
He has his is one of the only ones that has access to the
Water.
the Atlantic Ocean and the channel that runs behind the island.
Yeah.
So he actually has the entire length of the island, the entire width of the island, and
On the peninsula.
and they said that it's a New York says it was only worth like $18 million.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you got to be kidding.
Well, there's numerous people that chimed in on that topic.
And this is where it goes. But this is the thing: is the reason that they put they say it's New York said it was inflating it and defrauding the bank.
Yeah.
And in reality, what they do is they, and I think Kevin O'Leary may have actually mentioned this too. But wait a minute, let me finish. They have the bank when the person puts it on the application, they take the bank or the actual physical worth of the building and the potential revenue over the next 5 to 7 years.
100%. That's
right?
called
Exactly.
a valuation.
That's how they evaluate the building, because it's not going to be worth, So when you sell it, that's when you're not selling a building, you're not selling just a piece of property, a piece of land. They take the
That's you. Sorry about that.
You're selling a business, which it's just like buying a business now. I mean, when you evaluate how much you want to spend on a business, which you just bought the Messenger.
Yep.
Right. So when you look at the
valuation.
Yeah. So you had to go through and you did your
due diligence.
Your due diligence. You saw what it was making, if it was making money or not. I mean, a business that might be losing money, maybe it's worth less than the building, really, because you're saying you're either just buying the building or you're taking the cost of the cost, because you have to take into account the cost of getting the business back on its feet.
Yeah.
In this case, if it's break even, it's basically, hey, you're going to buy the business. Maybe there's not a building involved.
Yeah.
In this case, you didn't buy the building. You just bought the business, right?
I actually bought the assets of the business.
Right.
See, there's a difference. If I'm buying the business or a corporation, I also buy its problems. So in this situation, the Media Group bought the assets of the company, and the previous owner of Inc. will absolve all of its shares and dissolve the company.
Right, and so in that case, the assets are the media rights, the name,
list,
the name
everything.
subscription.
Leads list, call list, all that stuff.
The .coms and all those things that go into making the paper, branding the paper. Basically, you bought the brand, and essentially is what you did.
And I didn't lose any of its operations. So any function that rolled the business and kept it open, the doors open, right? Minus the who owns it. That's all I bought. I didn't buy the company.
Right, and then you immediately had to go make relationships with the phone company, the electric company,
everybody,
the printers, the carriers, the employees.
Practically overnight.
Yeah. I remember that weekend for you.
So you practically, and then you have to renegotiate it. So it's just like having contracted employees on a government job. When the contract changes over, it's a different contractor. If you want your job, you have to reapply with that new contractor, because that contractor may not keep you.
Yeah.
They may have to make cuts based on the dollar valuation that they got from the contract.
That's right.
And that happens in most business transactions, because there's no guarantee that you're going to run the business the same way that the previous owner did.
Right.
And unless you are upheld by a board of directors and you bought the company. Because then you're going to still be obligated to run the business the way the board of directors wants you to run it, because they're shareholders.
Yep, I forgot to hook up our phone, so let's put a phone up here in case.
Are you getting a
anybody
call?
No, I just wanted to. I got some people.
So
buzzing
the
me, and I
interesting
wanted to
part
put it on
behind
mute-
that
on
is,
mute.
is obviously this is politically motivated as to why they.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely,
and
it's
now you've
politically
got
motivated.
this case over. And I don't care whether it's Trump. You can say you MAGAs because we're talking about Trump. Well, first of all, it's a factual thing that's happening in our nation. He's the person that's being, I guess, tried in every state, right? If it was somebody else, I don't know what they would have done.
No.
But there is a retaliation against this individual.
But this is the Democrat playbook now.
Yeah, it is.
This is it. They've been doing this. They've been doing this since the late '80s, early '90s. Maybe I don't think it was really in before
What
that.
troubles me about it,
And that's why Biden got is kind of like he's a Democrat gap. He bridges the gap for the Democrats because he was still part of the old school Democrats, which
Yeah.
he's got a lot of following on that side. But as soon as he got in office, he basically turned it over to the new Democrats.
That's
And
right.
said, "Hey, you just do what you want to do.
I get to
I'll
be the
sign. I'll
president."
sign your bills. I'm the president. We'll go see. We'll see what's going to come of that.
But-
Whether they're I don't know how that if they've. I don't know if it, the
Okay.
stuff with Hunter and Joe.
The bottom line is where I was trying to go with this is that the problem I see with the party on that side is that they will all toe the line. They won't hold each other accountable. And this is where the media, I think, is getting confused because now they're like, wait a minute, this is like borderline against even our values. And you're going off the deep end. But, and then they want to say that the Republican Party is at odds. No, I think it's factually great that we are holding each other accountable. That's what we should do. That's how you
Exactly.
legislate, and that you, because you should be there representing your constituents
Yeah.
from a portion of the nation, the United Nation,
Well, that's
not
why-
the divided nation.
And that's why there's this perception that the Republican Party is not together, because when somebody does something wrong, when somebody does something illegal, truly illegal,
They hold 'em
and
accountable.
the party tends to hold them accountable.
You mean be a Republic and follow the laws?
Yeah, follow the laws. Make sure because we have the Republican Party. The people in the Republican Party generally have a sense of rule of law,
Right.
and just a rule of what's right and wrong. And if you're not doing what's right, we feel that if we're going to try to hold people accountable, we got to hold ourselves accountable, and that's exactly
disagree.
what they do. So that doesn't mean that every Republican is following those rules. But when it comes out, we want to make sure that they are held accountable for those things.
Yeah.
So and there's always going to be things that are gray area where you have some things are legal, some there's illegal, and then there's unethical.
Right.
And you have to kind of there's a balance there because something that's illegal doesn't necessarily mean that you have to fire somebody or get rid of them.
Sure.
But if they're doing something that maybe it's technically legal, but it's not necessarily ethical, then then that's when you censure and things like that, and you make sure that they understand that those are real things. So you have to look at and there was lots of talk over the last 4 years about censure, but in reality, that's what censure is about. It's about it's about holding the unethical accountable, and it's about if it was illegal, you would just
Try it in the court.
well, no, if it was illegal, you would yes, that too, but you would go for an impeachment, right? Or at the very least, you would make sure that you had somebody to run against them in the primary.
Right.
So, I mean, those are the key for me. Those are key differences between, doing a politician doing something illegal and a politician doing something unethical. Now, and this kind of trying to wrap this up about the whole deal with the fine. There was no precedent for applying $355 million for this offense.
Right. He's going to pay $400 million just to appeal.
The whole point is, he has to have $400 million because of it's $355 million plus they apply a interest on that 400.
He has to start
On
paying
that
it at the end of this
355.
month, as a matter of fact. 30 days.
Well, he has to bond out. He'll have to either bond out. Well, they're telling him at 30 days they're going to seize his assets. That's the other thing. That's what they want. So here's the thing, and so he won't even have a chance to appeal before they're going to start seizing his assets. And so they figure
And selling them off for more than what they were valued at.
no. They're going to sell him off for they're going to fire sell. They're going to sell him for nothing because then he'll still owe.
Oh, that's
You know,
ridiculous.
so they're going to sell him off for pennies on the dollar, probably to their best friends because this is what
Because
what
it's prime real
this is
estate.
what is going on in that side of the political aisle, and it's behind the scenes. These people are they think that they are. This is true fascism. This is fascism that we're witnessing on the Democratic Party side.
I bet
And
you
you
those-
look at this.
All those Russian oligarchs that are pocketed.
It's exactly the same thing. The government would seize it, sell it off to their friends, the oligarchs, who would then help fund back into the political party, the politicians, and that's what's happening. We're seeing this play out in America right now, which is the oddest thing. However, I still believe that this is going to go to the Supreme Court,
And it's going to get overruled.
and it's going to get overruled. This is Trump will be made whole. They will tell him they won't just rule that the fine was wrong. They'll rule that the entire law was unconstitutional.
Not only
because
that,
all they did was they didn't really even exaggerate the value. They put a value based on the business and such. At the same time, in the application, it says, "Do not go by our figures." While these are how we evaluate our business, we strongly urge you to do your own due diligence and to do your own third party valuation. That was it, right? And of course that's what the bank does.
Yeah.
So what you put on that paper doesn't mean anything because they're still going to have it valued. They're going to do a valuation. They're going to do they're going to have it appraised. And that appraisal is what they're going to go by. They're not going to loan you money if you don't have the collateral behind it.
100%.
And it's like it's the craziest thing.
Criminal.
It's criminal.
What's worse
what
is-
we're seeing is
do you-
it's absolutely that is the strangest judge I've ever seen.
Do you know that they also placed a 3-year ban on him from doing any business in New
Yes,
York City?
and 2 years on Eric and Don Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you've got a ban. You can't do any business. You have business going. So what happens to the money that you're making while you're there while this ban exists and it was effective the date of the court date? How do you
Well, he
how
just
do you
can't
close up
he-
shop in
they,
a day?
They didn't say he couldn't do business. They said they could not be an officer in the corporation that's doing business, and so they can can hire people as proxies to run the business, but they
got it.
can't have anything to do with the business going on. And that, so basically, the board of directors for the Trump the Trump Industries or whatever it's called, Trump.
Yeah, but how long do you think it will take it to get to the Supreme Court in this case?
Well,
the appeals.
The
process?
other thing is
How
that
much of his land and properties will be auctioned off before it even gets heard?
Well, he's going to come up with $355 million
Mm-hmm.
to put into the. He's going to come up with the money to put into the bond or what escrow.
so they can't auction
That
the
will
properties.
that way they won't be able to auction it because then it goes into the appeals process and they won't be able to touch it. But it's there if he loses the appeal. So at
Plus
that point,
interest.
well, I mean, I think once he puts it into
It's like a- is it a
escrow, it's like
freeze?
he paid it.
Okay.
But it's just it doesn't go to anybody.
It's
they
frozen.
can't. It's frozen in time until they get that. I think it says $86,000 a day in interest or something like that.
Wow.
On that, it's insane. But this is what they're willing to do. They're willing to go attack him. And what the thing is that I think that what they think there's several things at play here. They're doing this under the guise of he committed fraud, which nobody in the business world thinks he committed fraud. Nobody. Because that's how they all do the exact same thing. But so that's the first thing. Nobody believes that, but they did it under that guise. The secondary
Which
part
anybody else in America
the secondary
can
part
do.
is it pulls money out of his ability to go campaign. So he can't just it's going to hurt his ability to not to raise money for the campaign. It's a separate thing, but he won't be able to.
I think it will.
He won't be able to put money into
all of this. Is going to only increase. I saw an article where there's actually truckers that refuse to deliver to New York and boycott New York City because of this.
I mean, there's
going to be retaliation.
New York is going to pay the price.
Well, they're already paying the price from their stupid
and they
decisions.
don't even care. They don't care. They think everybody will just keep coming to New York. They don't understand.
Yeah,
Venezuela thought that Venezuela was be Venezuela forever. And they thought that once they took over and became communists, it'll still be Venezuela.
Well, everybody's going to come to New York.
Gone.
They're coming in buses from the Texas border. Let's transition to that. They can't even house everybody.
Well, yeah.
So, and now how are you going to... So you're going to have a bunch of people that can't speak English that want to work there. And listen, you got a Puerto Rican population already that lives in New York. That's Spanish speaking. You have Spanish speaking, Latinos that speak there. Language dialects are completely different. I've got friends...
But the words are the same.
Words are similarly the same. You can make your way through it. It's 100%. But the disruption of the culture of the American society, the New Yorkans, is going to be disrupted by this whole process. Look at the abuse of these individuals.
Then they call it New Yorkers, by the way.
Well, yes, the New Yorkans. New Yorkers. The New Yorkers. Listen, when they beat the snot out of that law enforcement officer and then release the dude the next day, there's a problem in our country.
Oh, it's awful.
And then yet you're going to complain because they're there and you didn't lock the dude up. I could probably pull it up, but there is a number that is out there based on the number of cases that have come across the border of folks that were prior criminals committing crime in our country again, and then we're not prosecuting. And we're not talking like simple like DUI. We're talking DUI with manslaughter. We're talking murder. We're talking the same level of abuse. Now there's businesses that won't even open in certain cities in our country because of the looting and the problems that are related. I saw
a story this morning that I think it was this morning. It was one day this week anyway. That in San Francisco, they're no longer. There's a store that I think it's a hardware store, like a mom and pop hardware.
I know
store.
Walgreens and some of the
this is kind of going to the extreme for them. It's when you want to come and shop at their location, you have to shop. When you come in, you have to shop with an employee. An employee has to escort you through the entire store the entire time you're there.
That's not even worth being open.
No,
you can't pay the employee salary enough to cover.
Well, I mean, it's working only in the sense that they that they have to limit the number of people that come in the store at any one time. So, which limits your access to the public. These are third world problems that we're seeing. In our cities, you don't have that. You don't have that in Brandenburg. You don't have that in Hardensburg.
No,
you don't even have it in Radcliffe.
We're in a bubble. We're in a bubble. Yeah. I love it, and don't get me wrong, I love it here. But if we, for 1 second, take that for granted, we're going to be. Our culture, our livelihood is going to be disrupted by what is happening in our country. Because of the monies that are going to go to fix this problem and not to our own counties.
Yeah, and they don't understand what root cause is. These people don't think about what root cause is. I don't know if they care. The powers that be on the Democratic Party side of the aisle, I don't really think they even care because they're using this in their minds. They're doing this they're using this as a stepping stone to be able to annihilate all other competition politically, and so. They want to eventually be able to say that there's only one party, and that's the Democratic Party. That is exactly what Stalinist Russia was. Mm-hmm. There was only one party, and there was nothing, not even God, above that party. That's the Russian Constitution.
Just gonna throw out some numbers here. Regions of birth.
Or the Soviet Constitution.
And Central America that have illegally entered the country. Mexico and Central America, 7,381,000. 67% of the illegal population coming from Mexico and Central America. 327,000 from the Caribbean. South America, 907,000. And these aren't like South America, British-controlled South. We're talking South America.
It's Venezuela. It's Venezuela.
No, I'm talking South America. Venezuela and stuff. But I'm talking about
Venezuela, Colombia.
Yeah. So just
Brazil.
Corruption, right? Europe, Canada, and Oceania is about 440,000. But get this one. Are you ready? Asia, 1,697,000. Folks, our army is not even 1 million in strength, and yet we just let 1,697,000 Asians into the United States. Who is the number one threat in the globe to the United States right now?
China.
Thank you. Has anybody ever seen Red Dawn?
Yeah.
We basically have an army living among us.
Not only that, but Red Dawn is teaching them what they need to do.
No, I'm just saying Hollywood's been telling us what's going to happen, and
Hollywood's been telling us, and it's telling China at the same time that, hey, you got to shore this up. So right now, China has more people coming to the U.S. illegally through Mexico than Mexico.
Yep.
Mexico is not even is by far nowhere close to the most people coming across the border. Most of them do not live in Mexico. Most of them live in South America, Latin America, Nicaragua and South.
They just filmed in California, Southern California border, Tijuana. There was a U.S. Either senator or representative Republican in California, and he was on the border wearing a U.S. Army hat. So it's a retired veteran from the Army serving in office, and he was down there visiting the border, and he walked down with a cameraman. Where are you from? China. Where are you from? India. Where are you from? China.
Yeah.
Where are you from? India. Where are you from? China. And so, in fact, one of them had their face covered. They didn't even want to be on the TV set. And guess what? Every one of them had a military-style haircut.
They were all military age, male.
Yep.
And I mean it's
and you know what they were doing? Here's a guy that makes the laws, watching him walk them across the thing, and there's nothing he can do about it. There's nothing there because the policies that are in place.
Well, we're going to have to spend billions of dollars.
You know what I want to see?
If we can finally get control of the Senate and the House, the Senate, and the presidency.
You know what I want to see right here in Meade County? I want to see the elected officials put an ordinance in place that says if there is a suspect of you not having naturalization in this country, you will be arrested and deported from our county. And not out of the county to another county. You will be deported.
Did we build a wall around Meade County?
That's exactly what we should do. We should protect our bubble. Because if the nation, excuse me,
Bless you.
I can't even say his name. It's scary to say it.
You're allergic to it.
The number one responsibility of the President of the United States is the security of all citizens of the United States.
That's right.
And our security is not secure.
No, he's purposely made it unsecure.
Yes.
It made it unsecure. Because,
for what point? To change what in the laws?
Because they want to have what they feel is that if they put enough people in here, right, then and then they allow those people to have children, and those children are automatically U.S. citizens, that they'll grow up and vote Democrat.
No, they did a video of that before they came across the border. They did the video and said, hey, what do you think of U.S.? Go Biden. And now they did the video of the ones that are here now, and they're getting treated like crap because there's no money for them. There's no place for them to stay, and they're all in New York thinking, oh, Biden. And then now they're beating up on cops.
Yeah.
I just so there's going to be a backlash to this.
I think a lot of this has to do. The reason that they're bringing so many people, you see so many people from China, you see so many people from and they're allowing this in. Is it's going to? I think that there's going to be a disruption. I don't know that they're going to attack America.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but I think that what we're going to see is that America will. They're going to when they go to attack Taiwan, right? When they go to attack Taiwan, I think you're going to see different things in the U.S. that are going to distract from that. That's going to keep us from. From getting fully engaged and being behind. Protecting Taiwan. I think that's their first goal, and so I think that's exactly one of the things you're going to see. You're going to see a lot of cybercrime. You're going to see we've got to shore up cyber. I mean, my gosh. I get so many scam calls from India every day, and you cannot tell me there's not a way for us to filter that out. I don't care. I mean, I know India is India and they're an ally, but they have got to do their part to protect us against their criminals. And if they're not willing to do it, then we got to shut them down and shut it off. I don't care if we what it's going to do to the economy in Asia.
I would like to have the return EMP where oh, you're on the phone with me. Oh, hold on just a second. I found your IP and click, zap, and they're shut down. You know what
Something. I mean, it's like,
But
it's
the problem with
insane.
that, Mark, though, is it's very simple. The U.S. forces can't even sustain military recruitment right now. The U.S. forces cannot sustain military recruitment. TikTok and all of these other entities in the social media world have twisted the narrative to all of our youthful members and led them to believe that there is this free path for them. Go to college. We'll indoctrinate you there. And then you graduate from college, and then you find out that there's not a lot of money there to be made outside of college.
They don't understand.
They don't. And, I've got my niece that's growing up in this world. She's like, I don't even know how to keep this going. She's trying to pay for her house. She's trying to pay for her car. Well, first of all, you bought a car too big. But anyway, that's a different story. But families, the way it's going and the cost of school and education, there is no free ticket. We already saw that get shut down. Thank God. You know what I mean? It's not
You mean
the
it's
student
back.
loan repayment.
It's back.
Of course it's back, but hopefully it gets shut down.
Yeah.
Because
Well, this is a little different. Did you see what the rules were? So so he's brought it back, and under this, it's.
I don't want to get steered too far down this
No,
road,
I know, but this is the way it is. You had to have been paying regularly for 10 years or more.
Now, I don't care.
To get, I mean,
don't care.
it's just
so you could have deferred, and because you got a job that lets you deferred. No, go serve. Go join the military and pay off your student loans. Go do something that serves this nation. You're not getting that crap for free.
I don't disagree, but that, I mean,
But
that's what I mean. I think that's why they think that he's going to get this through now, because he's put some conditions on it that are going to be. But I think I'm afraid that once the money is approved, right? Once the money is approved, and you'll see it just go wide open to trying to buy as many votes as possible.
It's a distraction to deter our youth from working. It is a distraction to create this fascist society that you're talking about.
Yep.
And it will create it in our country. It will create it in our lifetime. And I would be mistaken if we did not continue to try to educate as many people as we probably could between now and whenever it happens inevitably.
Yeah.
And not to create the uprising that occurred at the Capitol, but that we could somehow protect our small little bubble from that type of reach so that we could continue to enjoy our civil liberties and our freedoms. But it's going to get ugly. It
is.
And it's scary. And if you're not out there scared about this stuff, I'm telling you, do some of your own research, because if you are living in a bubble and you think that this is not going to happen to you, and your kids are watching TikTok and they're watching Instagram and they're solely believing off of these little TikTok and Instagram, tweeters who are famous because they keep posting and all this other stuff. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a bad influence. Don't let social media raise your children. Educate them, and don't let Meade County School.
I mean,
District,
I like to. I
Hold on.
along those lines.
Meade County School District is a great school district, but that alone is not the only piece that educates your children. Parent involvement educates your children, and parents have to be educated about what's happening around them too. Don't get caught up in the politics. Get caught up in the facts.
They're trying to do. They're trying to do some things now in some states where, I think it was Florida. They said that they're going to try to ban kids from social media. That the social media will not be allowed to sign up kids under
Fantastic.
18 years old. Under 16 years old.
I saw a great article come out that it's about Japan. Do you know that in Japan, that your kids between the ages until they're till they're in their grade school, above second grade, third grade, they don't learn anything in school about school from that age up until I think it's like they're 7 or 8 years old. What they teach them during that time frame is respect and work ethic. So that's why you see kids in Japan folding their own clothes, cooking, and all that other stuff. they don't do any of that until they get to about 8 years old. And the reason why they do that is because they become very respectful children, and it's very interesting, their policies. Then when they start learning education, they're actually learning at a much accelerated rate at that 8-year-old level, that they're already into physics and things at a
Right.
much younger age. It's really weird, super cool. Do some research on it. But I'm thinking we need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think most conservative families do try to do that.
Yeah, I know, but it's
mean-
not in the school. That's where your kids go to school.
Well,
You're
I mean, okay, I'm with you. I mean, I don't disagree. I don't know if we need.
I just thought it was
Again-
interesting.
again, why
If
don't
you
we-
get a chance
why
to look it up at Japan and their school system for kids. And there's a reason. There's a developmental learning process that occurs in those early years. Yes, there's a developmental learning process. Is that developmental learning process supposed to be to learn A, B, C, D, E, F, G? Yes, you learn that too. They still learn their alphabet. They learn how to speak. But that developmental learning process is about learning respect, dignity, honor, learning values that become their core. So when they do begin to learn, those are instilled in them so that they don't get tired or uninterested in their learning process. And actually, they're learning at a much more advanced rate, which is impressive.
I mean, I think the perfect word is to teach liberty
Yeah.
and honor
Yep.
and respect.
Yep.
If you teach those things,
Work ethic.
work ethic. If you teach those 4 things, that you'll have less of a problem with society, because people will, one, respect each other, right?
Yep.
They'll work hard for themselves and their family,
Yep.
right? You won't have to worry so much about, is my neighbor going to steal my stuff?
Yeah.
Is my neighbor and
Or is my
I think-
neighbor's kid gonna steal my stuff?
Yeah.
Because they're not able to be there with their kid all the time because they're having to work their butt off because this inflation is so high. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I mean, it's there's a lot of things that go into our economy that is tore up this country, and it's not capitalism.
Yeah.
It's capitalism without it's capitalism without honor and self control, right? I think people need to understand that, just because the word capitalism, all it means is that you will use the economy runs off of capital, right? I am going to make something and I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it a little higher than I'm going to sell it higher than what it cost me to make it, and that includes paying people and things like that. But people have gotten I don't understand why people are not educated, have not educated themselves enough to understand. I don't have a business degree. It doesn't take a business degree to understand there's common sense that when it comes to how business works. And my degree is an engineering degree, it's just an associate's degree.
Right.
So I have an associate's in electronics engineering, which is obviously not really an engineer, but it's it's like the pathway to engineering. And we had to. It just takes the knowledge that I've gained just in the course of my life has been. Okay, how when I go to work for somebody else, I understand that I am a cog within the machine that they've put together to build the widgets or what have you to get that out the door, and the cost of me doing that goes into the cost of making that. See, because you have when you think about when you're putting a product together, what do you do? You're looking at what are my cost of goods, right?
Yeah.
You're talking about the cost of labor, right? And then and so you basically add those things together, and that's most of your costs. There's always, there's facilities and things like that those things that are not those indirect costs, because you have to pay for a building to put it in, you have to store it, you have to transport it. Those are all costs that goes into that. A lot of times those will show up in COGS or in the cost of goods or what have you, but those are not as tangible as the actual labor that goes into it and the materials that go into actually building it. Those are direct things. But when you put those things together, people say, well, why does something cost $10 when I know you only put $3 worth of stuff into it? Well, that's because I put $3 worth of labor and other stuff into building it.
Yeah.
So now I'm paying you a third. I'm paying for the goods, and then I make a third, right? And I'm taking all the risks of that business, right? If I lose my job, I still owe people. If I close my doors, I still owe people to pay back those things that where I borrowed money and I've bought equipment and things like that. An employee, if I was just an employee, I would just leave. Right? I don't have another paycheck. Right? That's all it means to me. But the person that owns that business has risk out past the horizon. It's not just
Mark,
right here in front of you.
Yeah, you're talking to.
I'm talking to them. I'm not talking to you.
I know. I'm living that right now. You know what I mean?
I know.
Got people's lives in my hands every
you
week.
feel as an employer, you worry about that.
Yeah.
I've told you before.
Do people want the newspaper? The problem is, do people want the newspaper?
Yeah.
And that includes advertisers. If the advertisers don't want the newspaper, there's really no point in having a newspaper in Meade County.
Yeah.
Period. I'm telling, if you're out there right now, if you want a newspaper, I'm telling you right now, the only way a newspaper stays alive is the people, not just the subscribers, but it's actually the advertisers. And if you don't advertise, you don't have a paper in the county.
If people don't buy the paper, if people don't buy the paper, then the advertisers won't want to advertise, and it's just it's a vicious cycle. It's a vicious cycle that you have to deal with, and you have to. Your job as the owner is to try to make the subscription side big enough to get the advertisers so that you actually can figure out how to turn a profit.
Well, it's actually bigger than that.
The $1.50 that goes into that paper is really just a starting point. You're not making any profit off of that $1.50 because of all the things that we just talked about.
That's right.
You're just costing the cost of printing, the cost of of paying your staff.
That's right.
Paying for the rent of the building. And that's still, it's not enough to cover all the expenses, all those expenses. It's just to help. That's why you have to raise rates, because that's why sometimes you have to raise rates. We have to raise our prices in embroidery. And the reason we do that is because, well, it costs me more to buy the goods.
Nope.
I don't know how many times people look at me like, hey, why is it so high? Well, it's because, I used to be able to buy a T-shirt for $1.50.
Yep.
Right, at my cost, the blanks, and you can't do that anymore. They're more than
you can't
more
even
than
do
double,
it. Not in the United States either. You can't get a T-shirt company that makes it in the United States.
No, if it's in the United States, it's like 5 times that.
Yeah, because of inflation.
Just for the blank.
Yeah.
Before we have to decorate it, before I have to pay a staff to put the decoration on, before I have to pay for the artwork, it's one of those. It's really one of those things that we have to. Go into. But anyway, let's put a bow on this thing and say,
So I would say this. I'd say it's sad when we are in a country where people who are very well liked, party particular, right? And we're talking about Trump right now because he's the party leader. He's the party leader. Hands down, he's every poll, every primary right now, he's the party leader, hands down. And everybody knew that on the opposing party, and these are some of the things that they're doing. Now, if Trump is really a crooked person, like every other business person, then every other business person should either be on trial as well, or it's political. You make your own choice, but the perception is clear. And he seems to be the only one getting attacked. And everybody knows his policies. I've talked to
he's only getting attacked because he's the one he fear.
I've talked to Democratic voters who voted for Trump and then changed their vote to Biden, and now they're wishing they hadn't voted for Biden. I get it, and because they believed in the policies too, because now they're paying the effects of bad policy, and our country is going to pay for it for years to come.
Because they listened to the media.
That's it.
The media said, "Oh, you can't vote for Trump because he talks bad about people."
Now, we're not media. We're two guys. That are educating you. I'm not.
Our entire job is to try to educate you guys out there about what these things are and how they work, and try to put it in terms that kind of make sense of what we see here in the county and such. I know it seems like it's so far away, but man, it feels so personal now.
It is hitting us very
It
hard
does.
in this county.
You
The
know,
gas pumps.
I'll be the first to say that I wasn't a huge Trump supporter, but once he became the nominee in 2016,
You get on
I
board.
was all in.
Yeah,
I was all in. Trump's my guy.
That's it.
And the way he was treated, the way he and things, how those things were going, it ticked me off. I'm mad to this day about the stuff that went on from 2016. I mean, he was under attack
Yep.
from day one. At least day one after the election. Not to mention, they talk about trying to overturn things. But anyway, it's a matter of we've got to get Trump reelected. We've got to put him back into back into the White House. We've got to get some of these we got to get the border under control, and then we got to start figuring out how to deport the ones that made it in. I mean, it's a lot of people.
That's a lot
I don't
of
know where
work.
they're going to go.
I think the county court should make a ruling and do their ordinance and says if you're illegally, you're being transported out.
Yeah, that's
Period.
right.
I don't care.
I agree
what
with that. I mean,
you know what I mean?
how hard would that be?
I think it'd make national news.
So I think that we should do that. I mean, Texas did it.
Yep. I think we should do
Meade
it as a
County could
county.
do it. And so I think
You know what? I'm going to present at fiscal court next time, and I'm going to make that recommendation.
Yeah, I think that another thing is, we've got to get out and make sure that Trump is elected. And a lot of people are worried right now that are you going to go out and vote in the May primary because Trump's already going to be win. You've got to go out and vote,
still
even
gotta
in the
go.
primary. You've got to go.
You got to get our numbers up.
We got to get our numbers up. We've got to show that support even that early on because it will. You don't want to make it look like he's got a chance.
That's right.
And so you've got to put. We got to flood. Everybody in Meade County needs to go vote.
That's right.
I know there's a lot of people out there that aren't going to be. They're not going to vote for Trump. That's okay. But I'm telling you right now, we've got to get those people. We've got to get all the Republicans to the primary, even though Trump is the guy.
That's right.
So, and I think that's it's going to be a big deal. We have coming up on May 16th is the call to the county mass meeting is what they call it. So the Republican Party, we go and we actually select delegates from Meade County. We have to select 6 to represent the Meade County Republicans, not just the party, but all the Republicans in the county, to go to well, I think it's going to be in Bowling Green for the first one,
Right.
And then the second one is going to be in I forgot the name. It's down in south.
Anyway, you got to go, and
But you got to
and
go.
then the delegates.
Our delegates will go there. We have delegates and alternates. They go, and it is just about ready to wrap. So anyway, we have that mass meeting. It's at the fairgrounds, May 16th. March 16th at it starts at 10:30. Come show up at 9 to start registering, and then we'll get down out the door. So.
All right, y'all have.